to you. Yeah. Let's run to you for the Let's run to you for the overflow. Dwa, 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 Dwa. Dwa to you for the overflow. Dwa, Dwa, Dwa. Dwa to you for the overflow. To you for the overflow. That's a road to you for the overflow. That's a road to you for the overflow. To you for the overflow. That's a road to you for the overflow. That's a road to you for the overflow. That's a road to you for the overflow.
I'll get my art. I bet. I'll get my art. All right. We already have Sin Duhuti Ma'at Ra 1683. That's our sin out of in Cornwall, Canada. You all please excuse my voice today. It's kind of still trying.
Dua to the Neteru and to all who have gathered in this sacred circle today. There are moments in our lives when the greatest question is not, what do I want, but more so, what do I truly need? As individuals, we carry different burdens. Some of us seek healing, clarity, or courage. Some of us seek peace, discipline, forgiveness, right? Patience, or a renewed purpose. And as a community, we also have needs, right, to collectively, like our need for unity over division, our need for compassion over judgment, and for wisdom in our decisions, and also strength to serve one another, right? We need Ma'at to remain at the center of everything we do. Dua, right? Today we gather not simply to ask the Neteru for blessings, but to align ourselves with the divine principles they embody so that those principles may become alive within us. Dua. When we cultivate truth, healing, courage, wisdom, joy, and righteousness, and righteous actions, we become living expressions of Ma'at. And that's something that we all should be wanting to strive to do, right? May today's gathering help each of us recognize what is needed most, and may we have the courage to receive it.
That song, of course, by our our Sanu, our brother and our sister, the Schaefer's, they did that song. That's on the Shrine of Ma'at song, but how fitting. Neteru Dua to you for the overflow. For the overflow. All right, as always, before we get started, we are going to play our opening of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that ready for us. If it is going to allow me to share it. Okay. Seems like there's a little delay here.
Anetrak unbet het. Nuke unbet het.
Anetrak hapi.
Nuke hapi. Twau inter. Anetrak serket. Nuke serket.
Anetrak kebsenuf.
Nuke kebsenuf. Twau inter. Anetrak ast.
Nuke ast. Anetrak amset.
Nuke amset. Twau inter. Anetrak neat. Nuke neat.
Anetrak dwamutef.
Nuke dwamutef. Twau inter. Anetrak newt. Nuke newt.
Anetrak geb.
Nuke geb. Twau inter.
Anetrak shoe.
Nuke shoe. 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 Anetrak tefnut. Nuke tefnut. 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 Nuke tefnut. Anetrak pau interu. Nuke pau interu. Anetrak unbu interu. Nuke unbu interu. Twau enter. Twau enter.
All right, Dua. For that, always love watching that older episode of the opening of the way by Ntepi and Anika. All right, honor to the Neteru, honor to the Aku, honor to those gathered here in sincerity. May the way be open before us. May every obstacle be removed. May our hearts be receptive and our minds be clear. May our gathering be established in Ma'at, Dua and Ma'at, Dua and Neteru, Dua and Aku. And of course, we always give homage and honor to Baba Heru. Before we proceed, we honor the memory and legacy of our beloved ancestor elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Simaj Sepata, who is now Ma'ake Ru, opener of the way, the bearer of Ma'at and custodian of the Ankh. We give thanks for his life, thanks for his teachings. We give thanks for his unwavering devotion to Ma'at. And may we continue the work that he began. May we honor his memory through righteous living and faithful service. Dua and Baba Heru, Ankh Ra Simaj Sepata.
Dua. Do you want me to give it a flower, sis?
Yes, you can do that since my voice is so froggy.
Today, we offer flowers for our healing, for wisdom, for unity, for courage, and for peace, for every unseen need carried within the hearts of this community. May these offerings rise with gratitude and sincerity. And real quick, I wanted to say, if you haven't gotten it yet, the theme for us, we talked about this before we went on our reunion retreat, but us coming together as community, talking about what it is that we need individually and collectively. So that's what we are focusing on this rising is that. So again, want to say for every unseen need carried within the hearts of this community, may these offerings rise with gratitude and sincerity. And guys, if you have anything else that you want to put in the chat that you may need or you feel as though our community needs while we're talking, please do so, and we'll also call them out during this time.
Doing for that, Sinjahuti Ma'at Ra. He said he'd love to come on and perform with y'all next week. We'll bring you on. We have been playing the videos for it, and we both know the opening of the way, but it always seems fitting for us to play it instead of actually doing it. We do it in the background with the video, but because we don't have the balance dynamic, so next week, Sinjahuti, if you'd like to come on, that would be great. That would be great. We'll get you on here to do that. Okay. So as she said there, with the giving of the flowers today, we're going to set this feather. And our 4 breaths today are going to be the breath of truth, the breath in peace, and the breath of strength, and the breath of Ma'at. And as our focal foundation is always in Ma'at, we always like to make that 4th breath that. So let's take our 4 breaths. We're going to breathe in deeply, and the first one's going to be the breath of truth. So let's take a deep breath. We're going to breathe in truth and let go all of the falsehoods that we've told ourselves.
So,
and as we take our 2nd deep breath, let's breathe in peace and let go of all of the confusion and chaos that goes on within us as we're trying to make clear decisions. And let's breathe in strength, giving us the will and the discernment to make those decisions based off the things that we do need immediately within our individual lives and as a community. And as we take that 4th and final breath of Ma'at, we're going to breathe in Ma'at and we're going to exhale the fear to take the next step forward. Dua. And then Sashat said, we had a lot of discussions at the reunion last week. And as you mentioned, individually, a lot of, those conversations we were touching based on in a general manner. We talked about things that we all need immediately individually, like she said, and as a community. So those 4 breaths just now, some of us, including myself, having the courage to take the next steps forward into the journey of the things that we need. Now, we all know that we can be the obstacle of achieving those things that we need, whether it's the financial, stability that we're looking for, our health. There's a magnitude of things that we need, both individually and as a community. And if we can't meet our own individual needs, how do we come together as a community to start building and meeting the needs of a community? So it's almost like saying, if your house is not in order, how can you start, organizing another? So I thought that was something important to remember as we're thinking of those things that we need individually. Sometimes we know what we need, but we're standing in our way. So for me, one of the biggest things is the fear of taking that next step, comfort, routine. We're used to routine. Sometimes when we go out of whatever that routine is, it's scary.
I agree. I think for many of us, the root is fear. And taking that next step in for whatever reasons, it is because of scared of failure, scared of success, right? Scared of what other people may say or think. Scared of being out of place. I think for many of us is definitely rooted in fear for us to take that next step into what it is, our purpose, who we're supposed to be, the next part of our lives, and also being in alignment with who we are. We think about collectively as a culture, we have been psychologically trained to think less than of ourselves, right? So therefore, that in itself is a challenge, everyday challenge for us to try to work on not feeling that way. Many of us are still dealing with the psychological effects of our ancestors, and the things that have happened to them is still in us, even though we don't know it unconsciously. So we think less of ourselves. How could we be? And we have been, what has been trained and put into us and now has been passed down through our pathological DNA is for us to be small or to not be seen. Because you don't want to be too much or not enough, because that would mean something in many different ways. And in slavery, it means you can get beat or whatever the case may be. In a work environment now, as a Black person, don't want to bring too much attention to yourself, but you always got to do all enough to to even be seen as regular, as you're functioning at a extreme level compared to your colleagues. So that's something that we in our community we all battle. So to break those chains psychologically, mentally, to move into what we are and to let our light shine no matter what it is, in whatever aspect, it can be difficult for us to do.
Absolutely. You're right about that. And you had mentioned also stepping into who we are, you know what I mean? Being comfortable with who we are. Sometimes we also have aspirations to, and you said, stepping into our purpose, in other words. Sometimes you see a purpose and you think that you may be the one to meet that purpose, and you gotta be okay and at peace with not being that position, that there's another purpose meant for you. Because I know that myself, I've delved into roles that necessarily weren't fit for me. I wanted to be a fit for that role, you know what I mean? Just because it was something that you are passionate about, like maybe healing. And I'm just using this as an example. You may want to be a healer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your purpose is a healer. So be okay with not necessarily holding on to the idea of what do I want to be when I grow up type of thing. But cultivating who you are and what your gifts are.
Exactly. I was about to say the thing, not what I want to be, who I am.
Exactly.
Many of us in our culture, we recognize, when you come into this form, not saying we can't do, alter our lives, but who you are is in you. You are born that way. Your purpose in there, what it is that you're supposed to be doing is there. Many of us get distracted in other things. Like, oh, we like that. I like that over there. I like, those healers, look at them over there. They get the attention. They get to do this. I want to do that. That seems cool. And maybe you might just be a healer for yourself. It doesn't mean your purpose is to go out and, help to facilitate and teach others how to heal themselves. It might just be for you, for yourself, so us, we got to realize what that is. And like you said, sometimes you fit into roles, or just because the role needs to be filled. So we fill them, right? I know you've done that. I've done it. Many of us have done that, where we just fill in roles because they need to be filled, but it does not necessarily fulfill us. We could be amazing at them, but it still does not fulfill us. I've done it plenty of times. I'm very good at administrative work. I don't like it though. I'll do it if it need to be done. But honestly, for me, I am more of a creative, kind of thing. Well, I think honestly, as I continue to evolve, I'm a very balanced person, with my logic and my creativity and emotions and stuff like that. But if you ask me, I'm good with all that stuff. But all my life, I have been put in those positions of administrative work and running things and making sure paperwork is together, this, that, and the other. Just, and I'm like, look, I would say dress right, dress like I'm still in the daggone military, right? But but solely that is not who I am. I'm like a free flowing person. Get up today, do this. Say I'm gonna do something. I don't want to do it. I just kind of flow, with the wind kind of scenario. And so now I'm in a battle with myself of the two things: what I have been taught to be or thought I should be versus who I really am, and now trying to find balance within those two.
That is such a powerful statement, because when we do that, like, like you said, admin. Oh, I'm good at that. I can put, oh, I'm very good at administrative work. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's my passion, but you just said a powerful thing that we fulfill roles as a need. Now, finding that balance can get tricky when we do a lot of those fulfillment things because when we do that, and just because we're good at it and it may not be what our purposes is, do you think that that could somehow diminish what our purpose is because we're constantly filling other roles? And how can you, not saying that we even have the answer to this, but how do we determine what is our meant purpose versus what is our purpose is feeling? You know,
Yeah, you know what? I kind of, with the work I've been doing, I kind of have the answer to that. It's sitting with yourself. Sometimes we don't like being quiet, which is something that, if many of us that was at the retreat realized, sitting in silence, right? This is a season of silence. You have to sit with yourself, know yourself. Many of us, we are busy because we don't want to sit with ourselves. But you know who you are, and it's about remembering who you are. And how you remember is by getting into your rituals, sitting with yourself, speaking to the Dwa R Hrw, speaking to your ancestors, to help you remember, getting grounded, and then you'll know what it is. Now, if you choose to accept it, walk in it, that's a whole nother situation, right?
Yeah. And which, to the portion of that title today, once what do you need right now? And invoking those Netaru to, not just for personal and for communal renewal, but invoking those Netaru, working with those energies to actually cultivate your purposes and your gifts. Because again, we're all, as soon as we're born, we all have a specific talent, a specific gift. And it could be multifaceted. It may not be in one area or another, you know what I mean? But everybody has them. So tapping into that energy so that you can cultivate what your divine gifts are, so that you can, number one, acquire the things that you need before you are providing a service to a community. You know what I mean? Are you meeting the needs of your daily who you are? Are you know what I mean? Are you stepping closer? Or if not, all the way into the purpose of who you are. So that's that's definitely powerful avenue. And like you said, the season of silence and sitting with ourselves.
And that's hard. That can be difficult because sometimes we don't like some of the stuff we see or what we hear, what stuff is telling us. That means now sometimes it's easy to you don't want to hear, because then you have to do something about it. If you just act like it ain't there, you know what I'm saying? You keep
And
on rolling.
saying that thing that you're passionate about is not your gift. That's hard to hear. So you're saying, self, I'm not a healer. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean you are not a healer. You're using those things, for yourself. And again, that's just one example. That's, the easiest thing to think of. But listening to self, when self says this is not your talent. This is your talent,
Yeah, and then comes the courage to walk in it when we have been and getting rid of that fear. Or sometimes, I'm not even gonna say that, but just walking in the fear, knowing that this is where you're supposed to be. But that's the step. So sometimes, many of us, we know it, we feel it, but taking that first jump out into doing it is a whole nother situation. And I'll share. So when we were there, we were supposed to hold on to everything for at least 7 days, right? So one thing that I have been saying that I was going to do was retire when I was 50 years old, right? And I'll be 50 in November. And before I was going to retire a couple months ago, but I just keep pushing in, and this amount of money, which I'm making some pretty decent money now, is making me want to stay here versus stepping out. into what it is that I'm supposed to be doing and working in my own businesses and, traveling and things of that nature. And I always make excuses as to why. And every time it gets close, I make another excuse. Okay, well, now I'm just work for 2 more years. I'm gonna wait till my son get out of college, right? So then I ain't gotta be financially struggling. It's always something. But what came to me in confirmation last weekend was, no, you're not. I can't do what it is I need to be doing and fully walk into my purpose with this government job that I have because it's too draining for me.
Mm-hmm.
So what I am now standing on is January, I'm out. This is the done deal. I'm stepping out there. It's going to be what it's going to be, how it's going to be. I will be retiring and stepping fully into my own personal businesses and purposes. And it will sustain me. And it's crazy. I've been saying the affirmation that has stopped for a couple months. They had surgery, but you know, my gifts will sustain me. Abundance flows to me regularly, and easily. And so that's where I am now. That is what I had to come back to, last weekend and stand on. So I can put it out here in the universe. So
Well, universe is going to respond, and I'm just going to say congratulations now because you claim it to be, and it is so. So I'm gonna say congratulations. I'll be waiting to talk to some folks to see what we're gonna do about some retirement party. That's that's gonna be our next celebration because
wow.
congratulations for that. You can consider January here and that job well done. So, we do have Sin Curtis in the chat on YouTube. Sin Curtis, Ankima to you. Before we move into the next page, I'm going to take a look and see if there's anyone who's mentioned anything on Facebook. Can continue it on my phone. And I don't see anything over there. Okay.
We're going to move into, I think it was Sin Curtis said, discipline and consistency to our principles and practices are necessary for alignment, commanding our power. That is so true. And that's so great. That's a great transition into
adoration.
Yes, it is, right? And today for our adoration, we're doing an offering of alignment. Brother, sin right on time. As we praise in that Hrw, may we also open ourselves to the divine qualities they represent, understanding that we are not only invoking them, but we're invoking them so that we can embody them. Remember, these Hrw are not only living things, but they're also a representation of principles, qualities, right, that we want to put on in ourselves and walk in to receive these things. We're not doing as some other cultures may do, where we're calling on somebody and waiting for them to do this for us. Right? We're not doing that. And I don't want to, call on anything specifically, but we're not praying to something and then waiting for it to work on our behalf while we sit over here doing nothing. We are invoking it. We are grabbing these characteristics, we grabbing these principles, we're embodying them and walking in them ourselves.
She frozen.
So maybe, and so I changed up a little bit, but so we're going to start with our adoration for Anet Hrw. Ihawu to my At, great lady of truth, balance, and right relationship. May your feather rest gently upon every heart gathered here. Teach us to listen before speaking, to understand before judging, and to seek harmony before division. May our thoughts, our words, our deeds uphold what is true, just, and life-giving. May we become living reflections of your sacred order, serving one another with humility, integrity, and love. Dua Ma'at. Ihawu to Ra, radiant one whose light shines faithfully over all creation. As you illuminate the heavens each morning, each rising, I don't know why I said morning, without preference or partiality, illuminate our minds and our purpose. Dua. Dispel the shadows of confusion and fear. Awaken within us the courage to walk together to what is good, what is healing, and what serves the whole community. May your light remind us that every new day is an opportunity to begin again in my eye. Dwa R Hrw. Dwa R Hrw. In Hawu to Jehuti, keeper of divine wisdom, sacred speech, and measured thought. Steady our minds that we may discern wisely. Guide our conversations so that every word spoken becomes medicine rather than division. Dua. Grant us patience to listen deeply, clarity to perceive truth, and wisdom to make decisions that will nourish not only ourselves, but generations yet unborn. Dua, dua, dua. May our tongues become instruments of Heka, guided by righteousness. Dua, Jehuti. In Ahu to Het Haru, Lady of Joy, Compassion, Beauty, and Sacred Harmony. Open the chambers of our hearts. Teach us to meet one another with tenderness, generosity, and grace. Where there has been hurt, bring healing. Where there has been loneliness, awaken belonging. Dua, dua. Where there has been heaviness, restore laughter, music, and the sweetness of community. Dua. May love become the atmosphere in which we gather. Dua Het Haru. Ihawu to Aset, great mother of wisdom, healing, and divine knowing. Wrap this community in your patient embrace. Teach us to lead through compassion, to nurture without exhaustion, and to heal without losing ourselves. Dua, dua, dua. May we remember that true strength is born from wisdom joined with love. Guide us to recognize the sacred gifts carried by every soul among us. Guide us to recognize the sacred gift carried by every soul among us. Dua Aset. In Hawu to Asar, Lord of endurance, renewal, and sacred stability. Root us deeply in righteousness. When challenges arise, strengthen our resolve to remain united. May we never abandon one another in difficult seasons. Teach us perseverance, faithful service, and unwavering commitment to the flourishing of our community. May we become caretakers of hope for one another. Dua Asar. In Hawu to Haru, falcon of divine vision, encourage courageous action. Lift our sight above fear, pride, and smallness. Grant us the courage to protect what is sacred, defend what is just, and act with honor. May our strength never become domination, but always protection. May every decision we make reflect wisdom, compassion, and responsibility towards all. Dua Het Haru. Ihawu to Anuk, faithful guide and guardian of sacred pathways. Walk beside us as we journey together. Protect this gathering from confusion, discord, and harmful intention. Help us release what no longer serves our community and move confidently toward what restores life. May every step we take be aligned with divine purpose, and may every path before us lead toward greater remembrance. Dua Het Haru, may truth unite us, may wisdom guide us, may compassion soften us, may courage strengthen us, and may our hands remain ready to serve. May our hearts remain open to one another. May our words build what is holy. May our community become living. May our community become the living house of my At, where every soul is honored, every voice is heard, and every act of service become an offering to divine. Dua Het Haru, Dua Het Haru, Dua, Dua, Dua.
Dua. Absolutely everything in that statement, what you said there was fitting. I'm gonna go off of my laptop and go into the car. I got it up here already. I just want to make sure I can still hear it the same. You can continue. I'll be sitting in just a moment. Just you don't have to pause or anything. I just want to make sure it's still gonna play correctly.
Gotcha. While we're waiting for Tanisha and Carter to do that, also, guys, I know we've been doing some where we give some reflections and things of that nature after we have done our adoration. ask you guys to take a moment. We can sit in silence for a minute and ask yourself, what do you truly need right now? What do you think we need truly right now as a community? Not what the world says you should have, not what others expect, but what your spirit is asking for. And also ask, like I said, what does your community need right now? And how can you help bring that need into being? Do Ashanti Ashe. And some of the comments we're getting, I believe this is us in Curtis. Undoing a mindset that has supplanted our knowledge of ourselves has to be and accomplished as a prerequisite. Do I? Yes, do I wish I mentioned a little earlier that the first step is admitting that we have been socially constructed to think and act in ways that reflect psychological change of slavery. Do I? That is very true. Very true. Very true. And that's something we kind of touched on a little bit. Thanks, and Curse, right before you jumped on about those psychological chains of slavery and how we have to acknowledge that they are there, because many of us feel as though that's not the case. That was 500 years ago, however many years ago. It's not affecting us now today, not understanding that and many of us, I must say just about all of us, are still walking with those psychological chains on us, emotional, mental chains as well, not even understanding it. So we're in a space where our bodies have been freed. Like you said, our minds have not. So acknowledging that, and then putting in the work to counter it. So that is definitely the first step for sure. And I think once that's done, working together as a community would be so much easier. And I think some of this we developed in over last weekend as well. Yes, so true. It's in the time post-traumatic slavery disorder. Yes. Breaking the chains is the first result of our discipline and consistency. I agree, St. Curtis. It's definitely that. Breaking the chains is the first result of our discipline and consistency. And I would say this, sometimes breaking them chains is hard. You think you have, but it's so easy to go backwards into habits that you've been doing or not even conscious that you've been doing all your life. So it is definitely a consistent and constant. You have to be intentional every single day to be different. And then Senator says the real PTSD, yes, post-traumatic slavery disorder. I agree. And then we have at Key to Life Doula. The first step for our community will be knowledge of self. Do Ashanti Ashe. I agree with you, and I think the first step for us in this individually is knowledge of self, because once we get knowledge of self, then we can work collectively as a community, right? Because getting knowledge of self somewhat is you can get within a community, but it's also a personal work, right? For you to be able to accept that, embody that, and take that on.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, and that we
All
can
right.
hear
For
you.
whatever reason, I'm here, but for whatever reason, the camera's not there. But I was just listening to all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you had said, I know, and I know we bring up. So just for all of you all who don't know and who didn't get the experience of last week, I mean, we did a lot of spiritual work. And when I tell you, you just had to be there to understand it. One thing that you mentioned that I know I've had to struggle with is the consistency. You know, the consistency of doing the things that's necessary. You all mentioned the different thing, the discipline and the PTSD. Yes, we have all of those things. But see, we now know what our roadblocks are. We now know that we have those things. So our obligation is in spite of those things to go forward anyway. And it's an obligation that we owe ourselves. because again, you know what you need and you know what stands in the way.
Exactly. I agree. Um, Sin Curtis says the commanding our power and walking in our power to build using our gifts. Do Ashanti I say. And Sin Jehuti Ma'at says, I say we as Black African people need to read more about our history and come together to build and maintain institutions that benefit us. Also to abandon foreign cultures and cleave onto Africanicity. And I totally agree. And I also think too, what when we're talking about reading about our history, I think we should study our history. Like, Sankofa says, go back and get it. We need to get that history and bring it back. But in doing so, I think sometimes we tend to, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say glorify our history. So we want to take all the good stuff, but we don't want to take everything else. So in order for us to be better, we have to take the totality of our history, right? To understand what were the great things and what were some of our, what's the word I want to use? Weak spots, I guess I'm going to say, that allow us, for instance, say to be in the spaces that our ancestors have gone through. Because without knowing all of that, how can we make sure not to go back to that again? So taking in our full history, I think is something that we, as Black African people, need to understand and realize too. Not just taking the things is maybe we're in a season of doing that where we want to understand and saying we were kings and queens and we have this great royalty and we did this first and we did that first. And there's nothing wrong with that, but in that understanding that we have weaknesses and we have some things that need to be worked on as well. We need those so we can build better now here in the future as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And truth be told, if you realize each of us individually, our obligation is to doing those things because outside of it, we suffer. Or we wouldn't have the conversations of what we need individually and as a people. You know what I mean? So we're obligated to stand up and to cultivate in order for us to achieve those needs.
Do I? Send the time says, do I? When you know better, you must do better. This is the obligation of those who are aware. To be aware is to be alive. I like that. To be aware is to be alive. Yes. That's why I think many of us walk around not alive. We're just here walking around as zombies because we don't want to be aware. Because when you are aware, that weighs on you to now you have to do something about it, right? And that sometimes that's work, right? Keep it 100 is work. So therefore, some of us are walking around just absentmindedly going through life, really not alive at all.
There's a movie, I want to say it was a Tyler Perry movie where you remember Sanaa Lathan. I think she was messing with the white guy and this, that, and the other. But the two elders, the white lady and the mother of the Black family, they were good friends. And her question was, "Are you living or existing?"
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are just existing out here. We're like bumper cars. We're just going through the day-to-day motions. You're here, and you look around. We've all lost folks. We're here one day and gone the next. You know what I mean? Existence doesn't leave a memory of you, per se.
Do I? Sinette Curtis says individual, family, then village. Yes, that is definitely the order. Unfortunately, we live in a country that has a history of destroying our villages, towns where we build them. Do I?
Mm-hmm. And a
He
lot of
said
us have
yes.
that priority out of order too. He said that individually, family, and then community or village. Because if you're not right, how are you gonna show up for your family? How are you gonna be that husband, that wife, that mother, that father, even friend, brother, sister, whatever your roles, whatever roles that you step into daily, how do you step into those roles fully if you can't show up for yourself in the same full measure?
Do I? True. Very true. Very true. Then Curtis says they have no problem doing it again, but we can't live and walk in that fear. Yeah, we definitely cannot live and walk in that fear. This time is over for that, right? Sin
Yeah.
Matan says too, that awareness requires action, or what some of us have been doing, hiding and shying away from our responsibilities. We must change this narrative. That right there, hiding and shying away from our responsibilities. I think that was a common theme last weekend. I think many of us
Yes, it was.
have been
Absolutely.
doing that, right?
It was almost as if we all had to, symbolically hold a mirror in front of each of our faces and say, I see you. You know what I mean? Yeah, it definitely was a lot of that last weekend.
Wow. It's really true. So you're a reflection of your brothers and your sisters sometimes, right? I see myself in you, you see yourself in me. But some of us have been hiding and shying away from our responsibilities. But I think within our community, a lot of that is definitely changing for sure.
Absolutely.
Doing differently, moving differently. We know more, we know better, so we do better, right? Like Sinatan said. And I'm excited for where our community is moving into and what we're building. And it's saying that the adoration that I said, I'm going to post it because I want you guys to really get a chance to take your own time and read it, because I think this is many of us will definitely resonate with it and need to make sure we're invoking this on a regular basis for the work that we're about to do together as a community, as we're also walking our individual walks, but at the same time building together as a community. Yes, so true, Sinatan. This theme is as it seems as this is the collective lesson for us as a community to regain our power. Do I? Yes, it is. That is the collective
Sinatan,
lesson.
whose power?
Yes,
Whose power?
that
You
is
know what I
that is
mean?
definitely the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only that, some of that, like he had mentioned earlier, the PTSDs, the things that been handed down from our ancestors, and the things, of course, that we've endured in this country. Um, we've actually become our own oppressors, self-oppression. We've become those things are us basically embodying the things that have been placed upon us. You know what I mean? So now we've become our so to speak slave master. Um, and we've got to release the chains in all ways, not just chains that other folks have placed upon us, but the chains that we put on ourselves in doing these things. Because again, right now in our individual and community walks, we're the only ones holding ourselves back from stepping into our gifts and our talents and things of that nature. So I think that as Black folks do that, we have to release the chains all the way, even the ones that we hold on ourselves.
I concur. My power. Do I say?
Do I?
Negro opinion. Sinja Hudi said, I think the work that us from the Shrine of Ma'at are doing is a key step. We have joined in building a Black African spiritual institution. It is an indigenous culture rooted in morality and ethics. Do I? This is just the beginning. It's the beginning. Um, Negro opinions, Curtis says. And it's in a time, my power is our power. Do I? And you guys, you might see some from Jagna Nation Builders. That's me. That's one of my organizations, but I put in there the adoration that I read for our Dwa R Hrw for us to try to embody and I think it cut off, but I'll add the rest of it there too.
Absolutely. And if there's another route that you feel you need to work with, more so than even the ones that are mentioned, then tap into that. Get close to that
Mhm.
truth so that you can have the wisdom, the courage, and that motivation to step into your purpose.
I'm gonna have to do it again. I think I feel crazy. I'll do it afterwards. um, I think this is just I feel like today is what's the word I want to use? It's like from the past several weeks, even with I think the highlight of it being the reunion retreat last week, and this is just like the culmination of it, like just the putting that period at the end of it as to where we're going. Not even a period, maybe a dot dot dot, in continuation, but just kind of like um not a reframing, but
A remembering,
yes,
a
yes,
reminder,
yes,
almost like your calendar reminds you of the day. It's just a reminder of the work that's yet to be done, and that like you said, this is almost like a recap or a summary of those revelations, and not necessarily things that we didn't know, but a remembering and a reminder of the direction that we are each going individually and as a community.
yes. Totally agree. Mm. I want to say the net to root reminds us that transformation begins with alignment, right? And we've all been saying that. We said that earlier as we were talking about when we were invoking the net to root and what Sin Curtis kind of led us into before we even got there, which kind of shows some of the alignment that we are already in, maybe even unknowingly. And I saw that a lot when I got to be face to face in person with many of you, where we are in alignment in so many different ways. And Spirit showed me many of the ways that we will continue to be in alignment and how we will be showing up for each other in each other's life and in His work together as a community. And I am so excited for all of it to happen. Like, listen, I'll be trying to keep it all contained sometimes when I see things, but oh man. It's gonna be amazing.
And
It's gonna be amazing through it
all of
all.
those sparks, yes, all of those sparks to see that, oh, what's to come. It's almost like getting a glimpse or a preview into the future of where
Yes.
we're each going, and it's very, very exciting. And to all of you all that listened to the adoration service this morning and any of the other mornings, you all, every individual under the sound, I mean, everybody born has their gifts. Start tapping into them, and then you can better, not just for your individual selves, but you can utilize those gifts within the community because you have them. I know, we have a chat group. We were talking about something that was picked up. I really hope that is picked up again. The newsletter. I'm going to be reaching out to those folks and see if they'll, re-pick that torch up, because that's something um, that I'd love to see to come into existence. It's already set up, so I'm hoping that they will go ahead and carry that torch and relight it and remember, why it was such an exciting uh, idea in the first place. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. But all of you out there have something to offer. Something not just to offer the Shrine of Ma'at or the Kemetic community, but you're here in this world of existence. You have something to offer the world. Uh, and we want to support that as we support each other individually and as a community.
And also I would like to say, when we say community, we're not just talking about the Shrine of Ma'at. As Sinet Shinkai says all the time. So when people are listening to this, when you see this later on, if you're on here now, um, please please do not be shy about coming in to your community community, our community community, and being a part of anything that you feel as though needs to be done in this community. Some things that need to be cleaned up, need to be renewed, need to be restored, need to be deconstructed to be restored. any of those things. Again, you may see many of us from the shrine here, but we're just here to open the door for our committed community. So right now, I am want to make sure that they understand the door is open, and to put on a universe that we connect with others outside of the shrine and the committed community that will be a part of us building and evolving and moving forward in our walks, so we can be truly connected together as community. So yes, I'm putting that down in the universe, and I'm calling that in to see more of the committed community to be a part of this and to build with us here and in other places as well.
And keeping in mind with our reunion last weekend, it was so that's one of the many levels, many layers of how wonderful and amazing it was. They were not just Shrine of Ma'at members. We had sacred women. We had, different different conscious folks that were there assisting. So, like she said, this isn't something that's geared to the Shrine of Ma'at. This is just where the doors open. Now the doors of the church are open. The doors of the church are open. you know, so you're welcome. This is a safe space. We open the door, but we're here to create the space for the entire community, not just for one shrine, one house, one person, one body, one school of thought. Even it's adoration and praise, and everybody has something to be grateful for, something to give praise for, and to give thanks for, and to aspire to do better in their lives. That's what this space is about.
No, good.
So I would like to also say to our Sinette, Shakina Radua, we see you there. Sis, I went out. She's watching through, I believe, the Shiner Rod private page. I'm keep my eye to you, Sinette.
Okay, my hot Sinette, Sakina Ra, we murder you, and we're glad you are here. We look forward to seeing you more often, and having you cultivate your gifts and give those to the world as they're as our gifts are intended. The purpose of life: find your gift and give it away. That's why
I
it's a
want
gift.
anything from Wendy's or anything. Or...
Oh, okay. So if it's okay with you, Sinette Shinka, if we want to now open the space for prayer requests, anyone has any, they want to type in the chat, just let us know.
I have two names I'd like to put on there. One, my Aunt Lily, who is going through some medical things, and then also my Aunt Dottie, who's 94. We were up here in New Jersey for my husband's family's gathering, but we were able to visit my Aunt Dottie as well. And again, she's 94, and she's nothing's wrong, but I just want to send that good energy out there for her as well, for her to continue to be as fully present as possible, because she is a wonderful and a wonderful woman, and she's still living like she's in her early 60s.
That's amazing. All right. If you guys don't want to type them out, you can just call them out where you are energetically. We will receive them and feel them and add them in to our prayer request. May every spoken and unspoken prayer be received with compassion. May healing reach the afflicted. May peace reach the troubled. May wisdom reach the uncertain. Clarity. I request a prayer for Black Africans to return to Black African culture and heal in the larger global environments of Eurocentric oppression. Dua, 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 dua. May they receive clarity in who they are, what they are, in their walk. Dua. And casting out the Eurocentric oppression. Dua. And may love reach every heart. Dua. Dua, 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 neter. Shin, Kyle, is anything you would like to add to this?
Not at
She's
this
kind of
time.
moved.
Just
Okay.
you all. In fact, we something that you had mentioned before. So some of those thought-provoking questions from today's service, I will put in the chat. But just cultivate and tap into your network group, those that you need to embody in order for you to get motivated and moving and put things into motion, so that you can tap into your purposes. And after last week, we've all been, like she said, we're in our season of silence right now. That's probably why I don't have a voice, why my voice does sound like that, because it is meant for silence right now. And just encouraging all of you all to tap into those gifts and begin bringing them to light.
Do I? We have so Key to Life Doula is our Sinette Essence Divine. And she was requesting prayer for herself. Do I? We call out your name, Sinette Essence Divine, and that whatever you may need will come to you, and you will get understanding for what it is you need and what you want and how to move forward in all the aspects of your life. Do I? Shanti Ashe. Do I? Any announcements for the good order?
I will also make sure that we continue to add Himnetter Ames and Himnetter
Oh, for
Wasiri.
sure.
I never want to miss those two. We did get the pleasure of speaking to them both last weekend on FaceTime. So for those of you thinking about Ames, Himnetter Ames and Wasiri, reach out to them. You all have the contact numbers, and if you don't and you'd like to, just let us know and we'll get those to you. But always keeping them in prayer in their journeys for healing, as they are, coming through their medical situations or seasons, I should say. We always pray for them to be able to get through this season, and those that are immediate family around them that continue to support them and to be there for them physically in ways that we cannot. We pray for them as well, to keep their strength and to keep their, hold their stern and strength while they're supporting our Himnetters that are going through their medical seasons.
Yes. May healing energy connect with each one of them and their families, and support and courage as they continue, as you said, into this season of their healing. Dua Shanti Ashe. We never forget them. Never, ever, ever. And that Sinette, if you Sinette Shinkai, do you want to do a little bit of more of a Nethier prayer?
No, I think you said it all. I think you said it all. Outside of that, to all, even those who didn't put a prayer request in there, those who maybe have things on their mind and they just didn't want to say it. We don't pretend that we can answer your prayers, but together we collectively, virtually hold hands, and we raise the vibrations to be able to have those prayers met. So for those of you who did not put anything in the chat, or didn't share, it's okay. We still pray for you and pray for your families and those things that surround you. And may you all have the strength and the courage to do what's necessary. Be comforted where there's lack of comfort, and may there be understanding to where there's confusion, for all of you and us.
Yes. Yes, as you said, we stand together collectively, get sending out that energy and that communal vibration for you to receive what it is that you need to receive to get the answer that you need to receive, and to trust in yourself to get those answers and receive them. Sometimes we have to go within. So we stand collected as a community, giving you the strength to know that you are enough, that you have the power and the energy to seek out what it is you want and need, and to hold on to that through your connection with the Netaru and your ancestors throughout. Mm. With balance of scales, like Sanette Shinkai said, always before we close, she said the reflection question that she's going to put out there for everyone to kind of take a look at when you want, when you get a chance to. There's something maybe for some of us to want to journal and to help us on our path of regaining our power and stepping into who we are in the next phases of our lives. What do I need to cultivate within myself? What gift can I offer my community this week? Oh, that's a good one. What gift can I offer my community this week? If you guys want to share that, do that as well. I think I'm going to think on it and see what I can share with my community this week as well. Which divine principle will I intentionally practice? These are some good things. Sinette. Yeah, okay. Dang, I want to pull out my little notebook. I got it right here. I'm going to get the right listen. Okay. Which divine principle will I intentionally practice? That's a good one. Not something you got to share, but for yourselves and just walk you on and helping you regaining your power and stepping into your position. How can I become an instrument of my art in someone's life? Girl, what? Girl. Yes, man.
After last week, I thought we need action item questions. You know what I mean? Action item questions, because we can contemplate it, we can think, but what are we actually doing? What are we doing? And how are we holding ourselves accountable for the things that we know we need to be doing? So that's where those questions came from.
Man, this is dope, man. Wow. Thank you for these questions. Please put them in the group. And guys, please, take the time for yourselves to sit with these and listen to yourself and write down your answers. What do I need to cultivate within myself? What gift can I offer my community this week? Which divine principle will I intentionally practice? How can I become an instrument of my art in someone's life? Not in your life, but in someone else's life. When each of us grows, the community grows. When the community grows, my art flourishes. Yes, two. Do I? Man, that was some that was a lot. That was a lot. I just want to sit with that. I know what I'm gonna do when we hit in live here. Man, got some stuff, moving up in there.
Silence and think about that.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Yes.
with that being said, let's I can end with the Amasu prayer. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's clear our minds for a moment. Amasu and Pa and Ter. Sauek Su and Pa and Ter. Ahura Maketi Pa Herura. Translated to give yourself to the one most high. Keep yourself daily for the divine and do it tomorrow just as you did it today. To all who are Neter.
May we leave this gathering strengthened in truth, renewed in spirit, united in purpose, and committed to living my art every day.
Every day. Every day. Right?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I know. When it was coming up, I was just like, I was sitting with each one of those questions as I put them down. I had to sit there for a minute. I'm like, man, really, really reflecting. So, let's tap in everybody. And, I'd love to see in the chat this week as folks are contemplating on those questions, what you all come up with.
I'm going to make it a point to make sure within our and I guess in the Shrine in the group there, I'm going to put in some of my responses to these questions for sure. But wow, yeah, I don't. Tim and Mur, Tim and Mur. Sinju, he says yes, Tim and Mur.
Shimon Mur. And all of you, Shimon Ma'at, until next week. And stay tuned for this evening. We do have announcements. I believe Sebai is tonight. You know, you guys tap in. It's a lot of good information. Can't wait to see what they're bringing this evening. So tap into Sebai. The information should be on the page for you all to see the time to be able to log on and watch.
Yeah. Until next sunrising, Shem and Ma'at.